Who were the most barbaric colonizers or invaders in history? It's hard to say who is the most barbaric one. There are many actually. For example, Japanese military or Mongolian military, or the First Emperor of Qin, Qin Shihuang. Japan. Nowadays, our impression of Japanese people is polite, obey order, but don't forget what they did in World War II. The Japanese have a strong sense of collectivism and honor. The subordinates are obedient to the superiors, and the superiors are very strict with the subordinates. In his memoirs, Kuan Yew said that when Singapore was occupied by the Japanese army, he often saw the violence against the local citizens by the Japanese army, and even he was beaten. Later, he saw with his own eyes the beating and scolding of the subordinates by the Japanese military officers, and realized that they did the same to their own people. He also saw with his own eyes many familiar people being tortured and even tortured to death. Nanjing Massacre. Beginning on December 13, 1937 in Nanjing, China, the original capital, they committed a tragic massacre for more than 40 days, with more than 300,000 people dead. They even held killing contests. There were countless women raped. One-third of the city of Nanjing was burned down. Unit 731. Unit 731 is our secret military medical unit of the old Imperial Japanese Army engaged in biological warfare, bacterial warfare, and human experiment-related research in terrorists outside Japan. The external publicity of the research content mainly focuses on the prevention and treatment of diseases and drinking water purification. But in fact, the unit uses living Chinese, Soviets, and Koreans to conduct biological and chemical weapons experiments. Unit 731 built the base in the Pingfang district of Harbin in northeast China, which was part of Manchukuo under Japanese control at that time. Some researchers believe that at least 10,000 Chinese, Soviets, Koreans, and Allied prisoners of war were killed in the 731 unit test. Comfort women. They also forced and tricked many women into vetting tools of desire from within Japan, Korea, China, and other places, and most of these women were ravaged. After war. The most annoying thing is that after the end of World War II for so many years, the former Chancellor of Germany has kneeled to the victims of World War II. But the Japanese still do not apologize and often visit the Yasukuni Shrine. This is the fundamental reason why China and Korea are still dissatisfied with Japan. The young Japanese are very unfamiliar with this history, because their history textbooks have tampered with this history, and only have a very simple description. Young people only know that their ancestors invaded others, but they don't know what exactly happened. Mongolian Empire. The Mongolians are a horse race, although the population is small. They are good at fighting and good at horseback and archery. In the 13th century AD, the Mongolian Iron Cavalry, led by Genghis Khan, conquered the entire East Asia and a part of Europe, and became a great empire across Europe and Asia. There are now rumors and there are now 16 million people in the world who are descendants of Genghis Khan. In the Yuan dynasty, people were divided into 4 classes: Mongols, Simo, Han, and Southern. In the process of the expansion of the Mongolian Empire, countless ancient civilizations were destroyed and countless cities were destroyed. As a result, the demographic structure of Asia has undergone major changes. They used terror to manage the conquered people. Massacre and slaughter are commonplace, and it's difficult to have an accurate calculation. It's said that in some places, when a city is slaughtered, all people who are taller than the wagon wheel are killed. First Emperor of Qin, Qin Shihuang. In the 3rd century BC, China was not a unified country. At that time, it was called the Warring States period. There were 7 countries including Qi, Chu, Yan, Han, Zhao, Wei, Qin. So the annexation of one country by another should be called aggression, not a civil war. Unify the other 6 nations. At that time, there were 7 great countries in central China, and Emperor Qin Shihuang destroyed the other 6 countries and established the Qin dynasty. He became the first emperor in ancient China. Many people were killed, and massacres occurred in many places. Burn books and bury alive Confucian scholars. More than 640 people were buried alive in Xianyang, that capital, and countless books were burned. Construction of large-scale projects, such as the Great Wall, Erpang Palace, tombs, etc., the count of figurines of soldiers and horses from the Qin Mausoleum are his tomb. The people's servitude is heavy and overwhelmed. So although he was the first emperor of China and unified China, his dynasty was overthrown only 3 years after his death.